Hey guys, how's it going? This is Dave Sebastian, coordinator of Mentoring Arts Programming with Wayside Youth and Family. I am here with you today at the home studio in Old Shirleytown to discuss creating another stencil. The last couple of programs that I've run we've been creating stencils, and I'm sorry if it's very boring, but this one is a little bit more complicated of a stencil, and we're going to try to build it into multiple pieces and to use a combination of Frisket and acetate to build our stencil. So that's kind of different, honestly, than what we've been doing. So I hope that it's not, incredibly boring to you, but that's what we're going to be working on today. So first thing you want to do, with that is all about the computer. So I always want to tell everybody when I'm doing this work that this is not about you guys creating. Hold on one second. I'm having a little bit of a problem. Everybody looks okay. This might just take a second. All right. We're going to have to go ahead and punt with that. These days of the corona, we've dark days, plague days. Wi-Fi has been relatively unpredictable. I believe it's our internet supply, not necessarily my Wi-Fi specifically. And I hate that when you're live streaming every day, it's tremendously inconvenient. You know what I mean? So anyway, I want to tell you guys a little bit about me and my programming. I work with Wayside Youth and Family, which is a human service agency out of Framingham. They work with young adults and families and whatever they need. And I work in a part of the company called Tempo Young Adult Resource Center. This is a great place for young adults 16 to 26 to find support in whatever they might need. They have washer, dryer, shower, food kitchen, computer lab, and a small, what else do they have? And then transitional facilitators that are there to help them. It's a great program. Free outpatient counseling. They do great stuff. I don't work specifically for Tempo, but we have built a small basement studio there for young adults who are within the program and are interested. Sorry about that, sneezing. And so the basement studio is set up as a multimedia studio. I work with a lot of different media as opposed to the typical stuff. I'm no oil painter, no painter really at all compared to what I do. A lot of the stuff I'm working with is sort of what I consider as alternative media: airbrush, paint marker, scratch board. What else am I working with? Collage. I've been doing a lot of collage. You can see this work all behind me is the 70 plus collages that I've created in the last since last July. So there's a ton of options down there for them. Paint pouring, I guess we do a lot of, some acrylic painting, a lot of just traditional drawing. Worn out, guys, worn out. So when I'm not there in the studio at Tempo, I am in the community running my programs with and any of the partners in Massachusetts that are willing to partner with me. What mostly becomes places like youth centers and schools, resource centers, libraries, anywhere that kids might be, and that's probably the funnest part of my job, is the opportunity to come out in the community and share with young adults, what we can do with art. All the young adults I meet just want to be good at something. And, nobody can draw the way you can draw. Kids always tell me they don't draw well, and that is totally subjective. And then, not being able to draw well might be your opinion, but I can copy pretty good. So I could probably copy anything you've drawn, but I can't create in your in your idiom, in your way, and that makes you the master of that way of drawing. You know what I mean? So folks have to just have, some confidence. So I am trying hard to bring that. Why I keep yawning, y'all. Cool. So that's kind of the deal with my programs. We created the program with a partnership with the Department of Mental Health and Wayside. I've had really a great time doing this. I've been doing this for about 7 years. This is around our 35th live stream between here and Facebook. I am here from 1 to 3, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and then Wednesday and Friday I'm on Facebook. Here it's 1 to 3. Facebook is 12 to 2. Doing a huge amount of different types of stuff. If those times don't work for you, all of the videos, of course, are on YouTube and on Facebook. The YouTube channel is Greenhouse Graphics, and the Facebook channel, if you're watching this, is the Greenhouse Graphics channel. Excuse me. Man. Totally worn out with you guys. Need more coffee today, I think. Cool. So that's kind of what's going on with my programs and what gets me here. My title, by the way, is Coordinator of Mentoring Arts Programming. And what that consists of is creating artwork and having young adults watch me do it. You know what I mean? I have a hard time just giving them that much. So I very often am more like teaching. It depends on the media. You know what I mean? Like if I'm good at it or not. Like there's some things in the studio that everyone wants, so I have it, but I'm not tremendously good at it. For example, I know how to acrylic paint, but acrylic painting isn't my favorite thing to do. So, yeah. So we're going to get right into the project, and I hope it's not too boring for you. We're going to find an image that we want to work with. We're going to build off of that stencil to make sure all of our islands and bridges are represented. Jeez, man, I don't know what's going on. Every live stream lately has been me yawning. I swear to God, I don't stay up that late. I'm here with you guys, ready to go. Okay, anyway. So we're going to appropriate an image from online, and we're going to bring that into Photoshop. We're going to check on the islands and bridges as much as we can. And then we're going to have to make a decision on what color we would spray this character, because, Miles Morales is the opposite of Spidey. He's black with red lines instead of red with black lines. And so, that's a significant consideration. So we're going to kind of go with that. If anybody has any comments or anything like that, my comments are open. Whoops. This is YouTube, so I am not actually on and able to see you guys' comments. So, not sure. Maybe I should set that up. Hold on just one sec. That'd be a good thing to have. All right. All right. My channel. All right. All right. Cool. So now I can see if you guys have any comments. All right. Okay. All right, so now I can see me. So, and I can also check on you guys' comments. So if anybody has a comment, please feel free to send it over to me, and I'll be able to see it and respond. All right. So we're going to get right into this guy and see what happens. Okay, so we're going to switch over to my desktop screen. You can have me too. Hey, What's up, guys? Okay, so we're taking a look at these images here. All I did was search Miles Morales stencil. There's a whole bunch of different kind of stuff in here. You know, his symbol, which is really cool, and other stuff like that. So there's a whole bunch of stuff. But what I found that I liked was this image here on the left. Here's a Banksy stencil. That's always cool. So you see that there's, you know, some stuff. I actually kind of like this one also, where he's running towards the camera. But this was definitely the one that kind of like took the cake. Was like, you know, cool, looked strong, you know, looked interesting. He's wearing Nikes, you know. It was a good deal, you know. That is kind of what we're going to use, you know. I think that there's every opportunity. Switch to a different camera. Sorry about that, you guys. So there's a great opportunity there to work with this. Now, one of the problems with this image right here, you see, you can up here in the corner, we can see download. And you totally can. Now, the only problem with this is, I believe it's an SVL file. STL? Let me take a look. In my downloads. Let's go back over here. So if we hit download all files, right? Oh, actually, I know what it was. Is I went into Photoshop to open this image we had downloaded. Right? And that was in downloads. My cloud drive. Well, in any case, I couldn't open it because it was like an STL file, which is a 3D printer file or a mesh file. So this is to build a 3D version, I suppose, of this 3D of this graphic. So I couldn't use that. You know, usually I just grab something online and bring it in, and we're good to go. But I couldn't use that one because of it being that file format. So the next thing that you want to do is, if that doesn't work and you're on the Mac, which I am on all Mac machines here. I don't know if you guys can see it. I have right now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Mac machines running around me. I always feel like I'm surrounded by monsters. In any case, so what I decided to do, because I couldn't use it, was make the image as large as I could online, and then use Command-Shift-4, which is a screen cap, a drag and copy screen cap. I can actually show that. You know, Command-Shift-N, which is a Mac shortcut. Command-Shift-4 actually. And then you just drag like this, and you're going to take a picture of that, right? And here it is. We can put it anywhere we want, you know what I mean? Add to photos, you know. So that's how you could clip it if you can't clip it for some, you know, in some other way. Like if you can't convert that file format. The file format takes specific programs to work with, so, you know, I'm not going to use those. I'm not going to use that. So the next thing that we want to do after we've got the image is we bring it into Photoshop. This is Photoshop here. This is 2020. I don't know if you guys have used this before. Whoop. It's a very cool, you know, it's very cool. Photoshop today is a non-resident program, meaning that you're running it off online. This is, you know, a really great thing, actually, compared to, you know, what I kind of thought back in the day. These days we are so connected that it's just totally unrealistic that that we won't be connected. Excuse me. Studios are always filled with trash, you'll find. At least mine. Always going through a lot of things. Okay, so we're going to check this guy out, zoom in a little, and see what the stencil would look like if we sent this to our cutter right now. Now, looking around his face, everything is connected, right? This piece here is connected. everything through here. So what we're looking for is the consistency of the black, right? So we take a look and see, we can't have big sections of black, you know, connect without connection, because then it would, then pieces would fall out. Now looking at this right now, I would say it looks real good. You know, the guy that designed this did one heck of a job. Whoops. I think he did, you know, really good, and I think it's going to work just fine for us, you know. It is a little on the complicated side, so it's going to take a few minutes to see, to cut, you know. But we're going to kind of throw caution to the wind and just give it a shot. You know, maybe the cutter will be able to figure it out. I'm going to switch over to working on a light table. You know, this time I have not worked on a light table to pull a stencil before, but I think it's going to be a good idea. You know, I think it's going to really work. So we're going to give it a try, you know. The light table that I'm working with is pretty good size, so we're going to kind of figure that out. When it comes to stenciling, we're just going to have to decide, you know, like kind of what to do. You know, I feel like we should spray this guy in black. But we're going to have to figure it out, you know, because his face works, but his leg doesn't. You know, we really have to spray that the opposite way. You know, like that would have to be black, you know, black body and red lines, you know. But when I'm going to spray this, you can just skip those areas, you know, or spray those holes in, you know, in red, you know, and then just leave the background, or color the background in. You know what I mean? So we're going to kind of see what happens when we go over to the Silhouette Cameo. So we save this image as our stencil. I use a lot of keyboard shortcuts. I will tell them to you. You are not expected to remember them, but if they help you, you know, like Photoshop is really all about keyboard shortcuts. So, or I feel like your workflow really improve. Now, there's no pressure that everybody has to work with Photoshop. It's just what I use. You guys can use, you know, whatever you want. You know what I mean? So Command-Shift-S is save as. So we've already got our Spidey saved in here. But this is what we would do. I'm in the cloud documents. One of the great things of non-resident Photoshop is that it gives you significant cloud space to store compositions. You see I have, you know, quite a bit of stuff in here. And today it's this one. So what's great about that is that there's a great program for the iPad called Photoshop Mobile, maybe, or just Photoshop for the iPad. And you could literally go in and open this file without downloading, you know, and to download it to your machine and work on it, and then save it back to the cloud. So you could literally image manipulate on the go. This is a relatively new thing for me. I think it's amazing, you know. Now this one we're just going to cancel out because we know it's already in there. Yeah, and so then we jump over here to Silhouette Studio, easy for me to say, and we go new. And we're going to work, you know, so first thing we want to do is check in here. This is the size that we're working with. The image is landscape, I believe, close to landscape. So we'll kind of see what happens. Yeah, I think it's more landscape than not. And then we say open. So we can use this screenshot right here. Or we can go in here. And grab it, but I think we'll just use this one. All right. Unfortunate that it has the big black line around it. Let's go back into here. Let's just this time throw it on the desktop. All right. All right, now once we got him into the Silhouette Studio, You see over here, this is the size of what we're working with. Don't want to have Photoshop back here because it's a little bit confusing. You want to just go ahead and back away. Sometimes if you hit this, it works out, but I feel like it's too close right now. All right, well, a little bit closer. All right, so we want to grab this Spidey image and bring it small enough that it'll fit inside of our stuff here. I feel like that's a little bit too small. All right, so now we take this up as much as we can. All right. Just make sure that we didn't stretch it in any way. Let's see from here. Here to here appears a little stretched out to me, but I guess it isn't. Let's see, open again. All right, that key I clicked there is to lock the, I mean, I suppose there's no reason we couldn't lay the thing the other way, you know, because we absolutely can. You know, all we have to do is go in here and make this 11 and make this guy down here 8.5. So now it basically like does the work for us of moving, you know, turning the canvas. So same thing, since we have that guy locked, we're going to be able to stretch this out as much as we can. Then a thing I always like to do is if you go into this part right here, you see this flyout menu, this is the align tool, and you can align center and find out exactly where your center is. You can also see out here is our cut border. Just want to make sure you can fit it, you know, that he's as big as possible, because for this particular piece I don't want to you know, I don't need the stencil to be any other colors. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to try just straight up cutting this guy and see how it turns out, you know, like, and see if we can just use that. My gut is probably yeah, but if it doesn't work out, you know, we'll kind of figure that out. There's also the idea of taping or using Frisket for all the parts of him that we want to block. Initially, you know, I'm not going to even do that. We're just going to figure it out and kind of go from there. So now we're in the Silhouette Studio program. This guy is basically all set to, you know, his size is all set. And then the next thing you have to do is if you send this to the Silhouette to cut, it sees nothing. You know, there's no lines there. It's a blank, you know, thing. And that's because it only reads its own file formats. So if, you know, doesn't read its own file formats, it's resident graphics that are supplied to it. Cutter ready, or I'm not really sure. So you just select your cutting area, and then you want to go up in a corner that's just far enough that you know you can drag and select this whole guy like this. Let's see, I was real close on that knee over there. All right. But you can go up, whoops, a little bit. And it'll show you everything it's going to cut. Looks pretty good. You know what I mean? Like, that looks pretty good. Let me get rid of me here so you guys can see it. And so we say trace. And now we just move away our source image. And you see that this is what the cutter's going to see. It looks kind of like a bunch of lines, but if we're able to pull it off together, it's going to look really good. Excuse me, I'm drinking. Not like that. Hold on 1 second. We need to make sure we got some power coming in to all our gear, which sometimes doesn't happen. All right. All right, so next step is setting up the physical material that we're going to work on, and so I have that right here. So what we're using is transparency film. I think I found this at a flea market for like $1. I am starting to get into it. I've been making stencils with it now for about 400 years. I got a few. I got another one which is 110 sheets, also at the same flea market, and then self-adhesive sheets. When I first got the self-adhesive sheets, I was like, oh, this is great. This is a Frisket replacement. It is not. It is extremely sticky. So when like if you were making IDs, it sticks and stays forever. So staying forever is not cool. We don't want that. Where Frisket, on the other hand, is basically Scotch tape in sheets. So once you cut it out, if you're careful to not cut through the background, the sheet underneath sheet, you get a really clean piece of tape cut in the shape that you want it to be. Works a little better. So what we're going to use, the silhouette requires its own cutting mat. This is the cutting mat that we're going to use. First thing you got to do before you start using the cutting mat is get a quick look around and see if you've left any stencil material here. I actually did. Last thing I made was an H.P. Lovecraft stencil, which came out pretty good, but we do not need those extra pieces of acetate here. They can affect the next piece sticking. The cutting surface is probably my least favorite part of working with the silhouette. It's a totally consumable thing, so you're going to be buying more of them, and they just get dirty easily. Like, gosh, don't drop this on the floor, because if you ever drop it on the floor, especially if you have dogs, you will not be using that cutting mat again, because it'll be covered in dog hair in just a matter of a couple of seconds. Now, I realize that a lot of people are really careful, and that's awesome, but if you're let's call it messy artist like myself, then it can kind of be inconvenient. Now, these mats are about $12. So at $12, it's not really a huge big deal if you had to get another one. Really, the bottom with it is getting them. Now, of course, you can get them on Amazon. But what if you're in the middle of a project and the mat fall on the floor, it's taped side down? Now what do I do? Well, you buy another board. Or, I've taken this and put repositionable spray mount on it, and it's worked sort of okay. You can try that. If you were in the middle of a project and you really needed it, it might not be a bad way to go. I got to line this up a little bit, so bear with me while I'm not paying attention to you. Okay, there we go. All right. Now, once we've done that, we can close up our fly-out windows. This guy up here says it's low resolution. It always says that, no matter what I send in there. If we go over here and say image size, which is these two, which is that, you see it's 144. That's not that bad, so we say okay. back into silhouette. So the next thing, if you look across here at the top, you see there's design, which is what we've been working with right now. Store, there's a number of cut files and stuff that you can get in there, projects. And then once you've bought those, they go into your library. And then this one, which looks like a printer. This is our cut menu. So this guy's going to give us a pop out right there on what he's going to cut. This always makes me a little nervous because there's a lot of lines there. And the hope, the doom of the silhouette is when it gets stuck on a piece of plastic or the plastic peels in some way, because it continues working this rather significant amount of cuts. So then it tears the entire surface up into little pieces. The good thing is that this is very large. The last couple of projects I've done have been considerably smaller. Let's see if I can show you. If you can see that little stencil on the window, you can see that it is really tiny. All right, it's that little octopus skeleton. So, that's as long as you're making one that's a little bit bigger, a lot of times, we're really, really better off, You can cut anything up, but you can pull anything, if you get in there tight enough. But the problem is being able to make sure everything survives that pulling process. You know what I mean? So. Some reason it gives you these icons down here. Whoops. Sorry about that. Gives you these options down here, but you can't turn them off. It's like very funny. And then in here is a bunch of cameos. 2 are unavailable, and 1 is here in the middle. I think that there's a Bluetooth connectivity, which is kind of neat, I haven't tried it yet, actually. When I first started using Silhouette, which is quite a while ago, maybe 5 years ago or 6 years ago, you had to be connected, like hardcore. Couldn't be anybody else's cable, couldn't have a longer, they didn't make longer cables. Where I was working, when I first started working with it, the cutter itself was kind of far away, so you wind up having to pick it up and move it. And this is kind of a pain. Right now I'm running this with like a 10-foot or 12-foot printer cable, so I can have that all the way over here and have it not be a big deal. And I don't have to stand in front of it, which is pretty cool. I'm going to load this thing in here real quick and send it over. Alrighty, so now we're gonna just send this to the cutter and kind of see what we get. If you guys want to take a look at a couple of these settings here really quick, auto blade sets itself. Obviously we need a cut. Hold on one second.
Look at that.
This is my boy Mac. He's stopping in to visit us. Take pictures of the project.
That is going to be the miles you are going to have.
All right, back in. So now we just send it to the cutter and see what happens. The cutter makes some interesting noises. The first noise is going to be zeroing the automatic the auto blade, and first it goes to 0 and then it clicks up to our setting. Right here we're working on it's 3 for acetate, and should be, we'll see what happens, but that's what I've been using. This material here, I was looking around at it to see if I could figure out how thick it is, but I haven't really been able to find anything. So I don't know what it is, but through a series of trial and error, I was able to find that 3 worked the best. So that's what we're going to do. Hear it? That's it, setting the needle, setting the blade. Anybody out there have any comments, thoughts? How am I doing here today? I've been loving working with you guys. You know, like this is really fun for me. So thank you. And thank you to Wayside for the opportunity to do this work. You know, I'm working with young adults all the time. And in my best year ever, I worked with 100 young adults. This format has been much more successful, and you know, I've gotten to meet so many more young adults. It's been really, really awesome. You know, the only thing is, I wish that I could interact with them more. I've been doing some Zooms and stuff, and that's been kind of working out. But then it has a strange displacement where I'm like in the room with you, but I can't actually look at your artwork. So, you know, so not 100% all the way around. But getting there. So that's the sound of it cutting. I always think it sounds scary. Wow, this one says it's going to take almost 12 minutes. There's a lot of cutting to do there, so I guess that's going to take us a little while. That's not totally convenient. Why don't we jump over here real quick and take a look at some other ideas for our Miles Morales situation. Go away from stencil and in here. We want to basically make sure we know what his costume looks like. So this is kind of cool. This is so see the color of his costume is different in Spidey's, obviously, but it's also really different in the overall color. You know, it looks like he has Spidey's costume on, and there's some elements of it that are colored differently. So we want to make sure we get as much of that as we can. Guessing this is him here with the mask on. Yeah, that looks pretty simple. World of reading. It's kind of cool. So what else we got? That's what his mask. That's like his costume. See if we can get something here that'll give us a little bit clearer. Oh, look at this cool shot here with his shorts on. Oh, that one's good. Yeah, that one's gonna help, you know, because this one, like his costume, the coloring of his costume is really different, you know, than Spidey. Obviously, the tips of his fingers, the bottom of his shoes, and his mask are the only things that are red. You know, looking at the stencil, well, I guess you can't really tell because he's got this coat on. But we want to make the tips of his fingers red. And then his costume would be black, but with these lines on it. Kind of interesting. How are we doing here? Still 10 minutes. It's all the time in the world, you know, like it's all the time in the world. Maybe I can share what we were working on yesterday with you guys. So yesterday we were painting this huge bulldog cutout that was part of an amusement park ride somewhere. It was leaning against my neighbor's house for the last I don't even know, since I've lived in this house. He gave it to me about a year ago. So he'd had it outside of his place for, I don't know, maybe like 15 years. So what I figured I would do was create a portrait of one of my dogs. And this is Abby. And it's coming along. You know, obviously we got a bunch more body, feet and stuff, and more coloration and stuff. But I feel like the face is coming in pretty good. There we go. Let me see. That's my dog. Right. So, you know, so we're getting there. You know, we're getting there. I hate that it's taking so long, but you know, we're almost there. You know, sometimes it just doesn't. You don't plan enough ahead. We're down to 6 minutes, so that's pretty good. I think that the time is, well, I think the time is the real deal, but it's cooking along. You know what I mean? So hopefully we'll get right through it. I wanted to tell you guys maybe about a couple of other projects that I'm working on. A big one is that I'm building an Airstream, renovating an Airstream in my yard. This will become my my studio, and we'll be doing live stream from the Airstream, which I think will be really fun. It's a 1967 Ambassador. The outside was in pretty good shape, but the inside is pretty beat to crap. So we're gonna do a couple of days working with a new tool that I got, which is the GoPro 7 Black, and we're gonna strap it up, and you guys are gonna come with me out to do some video. You know, out to do to get up into the Airstream and work on a really large project, which I'm working on, a portrait of my uncle that I think is about maybe like 3 feet by 4 feet, pretty good size. And I basically have all the underpainting that I want to do done, and now I feel like it'll probably just be airbrush work. So that'll be kind of fun. It'll be outside. You know, we're running out of nice days before we have to get into the terrible winter. And so we want to use that as much as possible, and stay, you know, stay ahead of the game, right, as far as as far as outdoor goes, right? So that's what we're hoping. So now it looks like we got about 5 minutes left. Man, I hate wasting time. You know, like I hate sitting here wasting time. Been doing a lot of stencil work lately. You know, I've pretty much showed everybody this one I just did a little while back. This is the last one of the last pieces on my Cthulhu piece. You know, we also added this one to the jacket. I guess I could probably show you guys how the stencil of that worked, how it looked, you know what I mean? A few images. Right. So this is how that one worked out. You know, that was really a lot of fun. You know, it was kind of trying to have this effect, and it was a 3-piece stencil, and I'll tell you, I feel real good about it. You know, it's airbrush and then a little bit of paint marker to bring the black lines back in. And then we were kind of fitting it into this area under the wing. So this line across the top is the wing. Another thing that we did, you know, another thing that I did for the jacket was the sleeves. These are tentacles, obviously, that are based on the work of Ben Templesmith, who's one of my favorite comic book artists. He drew Fell and 30 Days of Night. Really, really talented guy. And these are my sort of like tribute to him. They're up the back of both sleeves of the jacket. And, you know, again, like had a lot of fun with that. you know, maybe we'll give you one shot of the back of the jacket from the side. So you kind of see it like in the situation. So that's where that small piece went. That's yep. Right. So then we put that right under the shoulder, under the side of the left arm there, which I think, you know, was really cool. I think that it worked really great. The finished piece looked like this. That was the back of the jacket. So to the left and right were those other two images, and you can see those there. All together, it was a really great time. Got to do a lot to the jacket, you know, got to do a lot of piece, you know, like this is what basically at the end of the day, this was a custom jacket, 100% custom. The whole jacket finished, really came out really great. I totally dig it. There was a few other really small elements that I put in. You know, maybe I can see if I can find one to show you guys one more. Yeah, how about this one? Sometimes they really take a long time to work. Well, this one is sideways because I don't want to have to spend the, you know, I don't want to spend too much time fixing it. This is the upper left shoulder. I was trying to sort of channel, sort of, you know, motorcycle jacket, you know, style with that one. And then this one is the last piece from the jacket. I'm very sorry that that was sideways. It's incredibly unprofessional. I meant to fix it in my photos library, but that's not really a priority for me. You know, it's important, but it isn't life or death. So let me show you guys the last one. This is H.P. Lovecraft himself. I put this down around the change pocket. I had a real lot of fun drawing this one. You know, like it was just awesome. I actually had done. Actually had done initial stencil using, you know, for H.P. Lovecraft, and it was crooked, and I just didn't like how it looked. You know, it was too simple, and it was losing him. You know, like you really couldn't tell that it was H.P. Lovecraft. It was just a blob, and so everything else I feel like on the jacket, I've been working really hard to make as clear as possible. So then we can't go and have, you know, this stencil look like crap. So so I went back and I painted right over the other stencil with a square of white, re-stenciled this guy on top of it, and then worked on him with paint marker and brought out the features that I wanted to come out. Now you see the problem was this big fold across his face. One of the funnest or least fun parts of the project was working on leather. You know, working on leather is super edifying, but it's also unforgiving. You know, you're stuck with what you got. You know, the back of the jacket was cracked in some ways. The underneath the arms stuff is, you know, has that stitch right through the middle of it, and then the stitch on the left. You know, like it's, you know, it's idiosyncratic that we have to work with. You know, you can see here too that not only was the wing of the other painting, but we have this stitch coming right through the side, and that just makes keeping your stencil down a little bit harder, and it's totally inconvenient. You know, so that's you know, that is just kind of the deal. We must be almost done on the piece because it has stopped saying that it's cutting. Oh no! Another cut. Hold on just one sec. Gotta make sure we change that setting. Alright, so what we're going to do now is we're going to swap over to my other table so that we can pull the stencil and take a look at what that process looks like. Sorry about that. I have like, you know, people saying things like, "What are you doing?" My computer's speaking to me. "Hello, what are you doing?" All right. So, like I said, now we're going to switch over to the other side so that we can pull the stencil, which is really close to clear. No matter how much I put it to you, you know, you can maybe see some of those cuts on there, but it's real close to clear. So what I'm going to try to do is put it on a light table and see if that helps me pull the stencil a little bit more. One of the great things about the Silhouette's cutting mat is by being sticky, it's more likely that you'll pull the entire stencil off and leave the cut pieces. This is really what we want, you know. Oh, there we go. So that's a great thing. But if that doesn't work out, then you have to go back with the stencil and pull tiny sections. One of the things I often use is this. This is a paper spatula. It's pretty cool. Also use things like tacks. My other tool. This guy here is a vinyl puller. It's basically a tack stuck in the end of a tiny dowel, but it does have a taper tip on the other end. Oftentimes, once you start pulling the stencil, you have large areas that you just have to keep the tape coming, you know, keep the acetate coming off of. So we're going to go into it and see how it goes. We're going to slide over here to some pieces coming out already. To my work table behind me, I have lighting there and stuff. I'm hoping enough. If it's not bright enough, we'll try to think of something. But luckily, what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to put the stencil on a light table and see if we can see it on the camera a little bit more. So wish me luck. Okay. So hold on just 1 second. And take a look at this while we switch cameras. All right, so now that we're over here, we're going to take a look at using the light table. So this is the light table here. This is about how bright the light table is. I super enjoy working with this due to the fact that I can really see it. Doesn't look like you guys can, though. Sorry about that. The good thing is that I'm relatively well lit over here. This is probably the brightest any of my videos have been up until this point. So hold this thought 1 second. Gives me an option of everything that's going on. All right, I'm gonna pull this plug here. Don't really need that guy. Although I'll tell you, one of the really hard parts of this work I've been doing lately is all my devices keep dying. One of the things about like video editing software is it tells all of your machines not to turn off, which is great if you remember to turn it off yourself. If you don't, it's going to suck down your power. And then another thing is that it keeps a record of the recording that we're creating here, which means that really often it maxes out your mobile device's storage because it's saving crazy. Yesterday I deleted the software off my phone, which is simply recording from my phone, and it was 26.55 gig of video stored on it. I do not at all need to store my whole live stream on my phone. You know what I mean? That's not what we need. So this is going kind of pretty good. There's of course some more detailed areas that are going to take a little bit more effort. For example, like the middle of the sneaker was kind of a little bit tough. Now these areas here, you know what I'm saying? So if we were using this tool here, we could keep pushing, you know, this up and keep this tool under it. So if it slips out of your hand, you don't tape everything back down again, which really happens to me a real lot. So this is like a big, big benefit. I used to pull stencils with the X-Acto, which, you know, you can do it that way. The problem is when you poke the X-Acto into something, its shape and stuff really wants to cut into that. Obviously, that's what you're asking it to do most of the time. So if it cuts into your stencil, it's hard to put down because now it's stuck in there. Oh man, not that bad at all. Looks like we got about 90% of the stencil out. I don't know if you guys can see it. Like, I always wish that I had something really dark I could put here for you guys. Let's try this thing. What we're gonna paint, oh, sorry about that. What we're gonna paint on is this material here, which is called Yupo, which is recycled polypropylene. It's a really, really cool product, and it's waterproof and you know, water resistant and stuff. Obviously, since it's like garbage bags, it's heavyweight, so we should be able to like really skate a good amount of material on it. I'm going to try the airbrush today, and then I believe tomorrow I'm going to try paint marker on it. I'm excited about it. It's a great new product, and it's a, you know, like ecologically sound product. All right. So what I want to do is I'm hoping, see, you really can't see it there either. Yeah. What if we hold it up like this? Can you guys see that? Yeah, maybe a little. So this is real clean, looks really, really good. You know, totally worked exactly, you know, like I wanted it to. I don't even, looking at it, I don't even see a single piece that we have to pull. You know, this is a really well-made stencil. So now I just said this is my brightest that I've been during any of my live streams, and now we have to basically get rid of it. The light table I'm using is a LightPad 940 XL. That's an 11 by 14 light table, and it's LED. So it's much brighter than typical light tables, and it has about a, I don't know, I think it's like 5-year battery light bulb in it. That's pretty good. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take away our sticky mat, because like I told you, you don't really, you know, you don't want to get anything on here. It very quickly dies on you. So that's something we totally don't want to do. All right. So like I said, we're using this Yupo paper. I think we'll skip over to just the paper. You know, we're going to be working on it with this. This is a Black Ops Iwata airbrush. Really, really cool, big, heavy tool. Totally dig it. Really, really works awesome. And since we're really spraying with just one color, we'll just use one airbrush. All right. So as we open up the Yupo, we get this odd piece of material here in the front. It's also Yupo paper, so I guess we can work on the back. But it says, "We are paper." I always think of Legion from Exorcist, where they say, he says, "What's your name?" And the bad guy says, "Legion, for we are many." Pretty cool, or terrifying, whatever you guys think. All right. So we got to kind of think about where we want to put, you know, this dude, right? Because I kind of want to be able to place a border around him that that not only isolate, keeps the image in place so that we can spray it, but it means I could use it to create like a real border, and then we can swap it back. We could take the stencil out, and once we're done spraying the stencil, we can put the stencil back, spray down the edges of it, and get our border. All right, so that in mind, how I usually do my my borders is we're going to use basically the end of the stencil is there. So it's not we don't really have to do anything crazy. And if you tape the end, if you put your tape down on the end, run it out like this, you can get a really good straight line. You know what I mean? Always put some kind of tab on the end of your tape so that you can get it off. I'm not going to be wearing gloves today because I'm actually out of them in these days of the pandemic, but if you had gloves on, you'll find it really, really difficult to pull tape up. Got to make sure we don't stick over any of the stencil. Right? That was up too far for that one. Same thing, you want to do it just long enough that you can get to stick the stencil down. Yeah. Just want to make sure you get it as straight as you can and not cover any parts of the stencil, which I did there. Pull that guy again and start over. So now we know we got this guy clear of that piece of the stencil. Sometimes I just can't handle the task of tape. Just one sec, guys. Just grab this machine here. All right. All right. So now that we got this guy taped up real good, oops. All right. Since we got this guy taped up pretty good, looks all right. Stencil's definitely not going to go anywhere. Boy, I'll tell you, I'm so super spoiled with the idea of painting on something that's flat and a consistent. Because painting on that jacket, I've been painting on that jacket for the last maybe 25 live streams. So it's been awesome, but it's also been challenging to continue working with the surface of the jacket, the material. I love painting on leather, and I'm going to really try to do more. Problem is finding leather that isn't that's reasonably expensive. And you can't buy something expensive and then paint on it because you'll very quickly ruin it, possibly. I mean, I feel like the jacket came out really, really great, but there was every chance to screw up every single stencil. And I'm only so, I'm confident in the artwork that I do, but it could screw up, and you only got one jacket. So that's kind of it. This paper, if we make a mistake this time, we can move on to the next page and try it again. So we're like, we're fine. So like I said, we're going to use this device here. Oops. Got to plug this guy back in. this noise will be the compressor turning on. Maybe I have enough air in there right now. All right, connect this guy up. This is a really, really great brush. It costs some money, but it is a really, really great brush, and I super dig it. So we're going to be working with black. So what the black I normally use is this one. This is Maltao marker filler. You know, this is for refilling markers. Thought I had one more around. I have a huge amount of Maltao colors. Yep. And I like that, you know, like the markers are refillable. That's a huge plus. So these are refills. I do have the 18 milliliter larger refills, which I take these and refill them from that reservoir because these are easier to carry around. They sell them in this way from both Blick and Art Primo and Maltao themselves. There is not a U.S. store for Maltao. They claim there's a North American store, but it hasn't been very successful for me. I buy most of my Maltao stuff either from Dick Blick, Art Supply, or from Art Primo. Art Primo has come through a couple of times. Then there's a company called Jackson Art. They're out of London, and they really, you know, they have some great stuff. And in some cases before other, you know, they're in England, so they get stuff before some U.S. stores, or even stuff U.S. stores aren't going to get, you know, or haven't gotten yet. You know, I think they're one of the major distributors in England, so that's probably why. You know, I'm sticking this down because I forgot that the other thing that you want to do after you've immobilized your sticker is immobilize the surface that you're painting on, because if not, it'll move, and if it moves on you while you're painting, then you screw it up. So it is what it is. Gotta stop saying that. I think it's a really lame thing to say. I don't know if you guys heard, you know, if I was talking to everybody, if anybody was with me yesterday, these tips are awesome for keeping the paint from drying, but they can also often be a problem because they'll dry just in this small fluted area there. So then you got to put a needle in it, and needles, at least the airbrush needle that I use, is, you know, just a little bit too big. I think my best luck has been with tacks, but they don't really always go deep enough. So, you know, in anything, nothing is easy. All right. So another thing that I always do. Sorry about that. See if I can find where it got to. Usually have a just a scrap paper that I spray on. So where that got to, I'm not totally sure. Where'd you go, buddy? I need you. Come home. Come back to me. Here we go. So this is just a yellow legal pad, you know, that I just spray up when, you know, for whatever. Because, you know, obviously you want it to work, and you want to make sure you test it before you look at it, before you're, you know, you're working, because you don't want to see, you know, you want it to not work for you when you're right in the middle of something. Working just fine. All right, so what I'm going to do here is basically like a soft sweep, and then we'll go in a second time and get a little bit tighter and tighter until we feel like we've really got it where we want it to be as far as darkness. Now, one of the things that I'm going to have to be, you know, kind of trying is that I haven't sprayed on this Yupo before. I don't know if it's going to have a lot of bounce back or anything like that. I often use ratchets to hold down my stencil, especially really small spots. One of the risks, of course, is stenciling the ratchet. But generally speaking, you just try. So we move around and we hold things down. I often use this to hold things down. It sticks out pretty far. Same problem with stenciling it. So you want to really be careful if that's something you do. Just before we hit the, get into this, I want to grab a little fluids. Sorry about that, guys. All right. And as they say, here we go. All right. You try to stay 90 over your surface as much as possible. Stencil should work even if it jumps around a little bit. Through here, turn our pressure down a little bit. Here is a big section, so you want to try. I'm going to try to work one side of it. You hear the difference in the compressor, in the pressure of the air on the airbrush. This is a not much talking part. Sorry, guys. This part is, it's a little bit on the you gotta kind of pay attention side. So as I keep doing this is you want to always spray off the side of the artwork that you're working on, because sometimes the paint can dry or be moist a little bit, or hanging on the end. You know, it's relevant to just mention how an airbrush works. It's basically a tube filled with paint with air up behind it, and the needle is what's keeping the paint in. As you start to move it out, the pressure behind that needle starts to throw the paint out. So in this tube can sometimes be wet paint, and if you start over your artwork, you could spit it, and you don't want that. You want to, really control what's happening with your stencil instead of letting something happen with it. This piece here really wants to stay up, man. Same thing. If you can't hold everything down, all you got to do is stay really 90. And if you're right up over this, the stencil will still work because the air will probably push it down instead of away. Alright, so we take a look at what's happening over here. A little more up top. Alright, I'm going to get out here on more of these sections of this jacket. Well, we may be running out of paint. No, we're good. My mistake. Okay. This is another kind of bigger one. Same thing, remember, just stay in 90. And we're getting there, we're getting there. Another thing I found the other day, whoops, is don't get your monitor equipment too close to you. I had a coffee cup here. I sprayed it with white. I had my iPads and stuff all have paint on them. I don't know if it bothers me really. I kind of dig it actually. I remember when I was a kid, I once went to my old friend Dave LaRocca's studio, and he's a brilliant sculptor, and he does mostly religious sculpture. Just making sure I didn't miss any of these here. And everything about his place was covered in paint and dust and stuff, and so it was really had a really cool personality to it. And I always wanted my studio to look like someone had been working in there, And they left paint on everything. I once saw a picture from Jasper John's space or Jackson Pollock. I think it was Jackson Pollock, and every surface in there was covered in paint. And it was very, very cool. Now we're going to take the brush up here and do more of a sweeping, a larger sweeping effect. Really important to stay 90 on this step, because otherwise you screw up everything you just did. This will be our coat that brings some of our blacks up closer to where we ultimately want them to be. All right. All right. Now we're going to just wait a sec there, see if there's anything we missed. This is part of the sneaker right there. Oh, that's the bottom of its leg over here. All right. Now we just take a look at this and see what we're kind of, what we're working with. You guys still with me? It's only been about an hour and a half, so don't give up on me yet. Talking a lot is hard on the Constitution. Almost there. I'm thinking that just want to hit any spots that I don't feel like I got enough. I should have actually waited on that because the bottom of his feet are red. The bottom, across the bottom of his feet. All right, so now we're really just mostly just letting it dry. And making sure we didn't miss any whole areas or anything. Looking at it, it's good to look directly down on it also because you can really see if you missed anything by looking down on it. It looks pretty good. I think we really got everything about the same. Definitely his bottom half looks good. All right. So a lot of folks at this phase would just use the airbrush to try to dry the stencil. I am not using any paint here. I'm just using air. All right. Okay. So now we really just kind of wait like just a minute to kind of let this guy dry. We take off the weights that we had on it. And then we just wait a sec for it to dry. Seems like today has been a lot of waiting. Like we're waiting for the cutter, waiting for my gear, all that kind of junk. So we're going to take a look at this guy, pull this piece off, see what kind of stencil, we have. And then the next step after this will be working on it in paint marker to try to bring out some of the colors of this character's, face and stuff. I think it's going to be cool. So I did notice a spot I missed down here. All right. Best airbrush I've ever used. This is called Black Ops, and it's an Iwata Eclipse, but it's a custom-made one by Coast Airbrush in Anaheim, California. I was lucky enough to go there last year, and what a sick place. This is the dream place for an airbrush artist. So now we're going to just take stuff off. Pull the stencil and see what happened. All right? So I tend to try to save my tape if I can. Tape is not real expensive, and I'm using painter tape, which is very inexpensive. Never use anything called airbrush tape or art tape or anything like that because it's tape, Who cares? Now, I say that in deference to my friends at Bulldog Tape, I think that Bullfrog Tape, I think they're making awesome products, and I think they'd be really useful if the job you're doing is painting on, very, very important surfaces like cars and motorcycles and helmets and stuff. Working on paper, or in this case, Yupo, it's not overkill. You can get away with just using this junk here. This is better than masking tape because masking tape is designed to stay, where painter's tape is designed to go, is designed to come off. This is a big benefit. Same as we were just talking about with Frisket. It's made to come off, so it works better than a number of other, than that laminate I was talking about. It's made to come off, so it comes off. I've tried other stuff like repositionable spray mount. What has worked the best is Frisket. Sorry guys, passing out on you. All right, that looks pretty good. What do you guys think? Looks like the only place that we had a little bit of overspray is up there in the corner. I guess down here is a little on the soft side. Let's see if we can. A great thing to leave that end is you can go back in and hit an area because you haven't pulled the entire stencil off. You can always fit a stencil again, but it's much easier to not have to. You know what I mean? I mean, you can place a stencil again. I don't know if I made that clear enough. You can place a stencil again, and if you want to, but it's a little bit challenging. Trying to get something just in the spot the last one was. A lot of times with multiple piece stencils, I'll use registration marks. Registration mark would be like a little hole in each corner. You line up the holes, the stencils are in the same place. That's if you're using multiple acetate stencils, and then of course if you're on a surface that you can put a tack in, because you can't do that on a tank or a helmet. All right, so now that we hit that sneaker again, a little bit over here, take a look at it a second time. It looks a little light over here. All right, so same deal. We'll let that guy dry for a sec. Try to pull up another picture of Miles Morales. Yeah. Well, the only problem I see, and it's the same problem we saw when we made the stencil, is that a lot of the black is red. Not perfect. So once we feel like it's dried long enough, you just pull the stencil. And, now I feel like his sneaker is much clearer. What we lost over here was the swipe. Like Nike swipe, I kind of dug. Ah, there it is. Somehow it didn't work on ours, or it didn't get cut or something. Comes up to, oh yeah, I missed this whole section here. Oh, that's a pain. Well, there is, of course, some manipulation that needs to happen now anyway, because this is just a raw stencil. I think it looks awesome, but you can't give that to a client because that's just our setup, Airbrush is by far the best setup tool that I've ever used because it'll give you all the lines you need to work on, and all you need to do is basically touch them up in a couple of places. Really like that image right there. You see this? Just off. Looks really action-y. So first thing we want to do is take a look at why this section on the side didn't cut. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. Maybe we'll go back in silhouette and see if it was there. Oh yeah, it was definitely there. Wow. Wonder why it didn't cut it. That's funny. All right. This here are very small markers that I can use. Oh, it's going to be the last one. I'm pretty colorblind, so I have to read the labels to make sure those are the right ones. They look promising, but all right, man, I really like that stencil. That was really, really cool. Definitely gave me just what I needed. All right, so I'm gonna want to work on that sneaker. Should we airbrush it, stencil it again? Because it's definitely going to look different than this other stuff if we draw the back of this shoe in there. Maybe we'll start with some of the color. I'm thinking about using this size Maltao, but I want to use the round tip one. Looking for a... Oh, this one doesn't have a tip at all. Apparently that's all I have for that just now. That seems weird. The bummer with this is that it's a chisel tip and that it's a little bit beat. It is a color that we want to use. Erase that guy. So now we got to pull up that reference to Miles Morales. This one is from a coloring book. All right. Apparently we lost our image there. All right, so it looks like his lines are red and his costume is black. All right, let's go back here a little bit. Just got to find a good... Just trying to find a good source image. You know, I was thinking maybe we'd say character study. All right, this is what we're looking for here. Almost. Yeah, I think we're going to go with that one. That doesn't actually give us the lines on his head. Oh, there we go. All right. So we know his fingers. I thought there was a line about across the bottom of his shoe, but maybe not so much. All right, so all of these lines we need to be red. So we're going to get in here and work on those. Move my light a little. All right. Hard for me to talk during this part. This takes a little bit of focus. You know what's funny is I just put up a magnifying glass, a magnifier, so that I could see this stuff better, and I took it out because it didn't feel like it was working as well as I wanted it to, or the light wasn't strong enough. Getting there. Now, of course, in the process of creating the islands and bridges to make the stencil work, we had to cut away some details. So you want to make sure that you put them back. Right? Wish I had just a little bit more light. Another light here. Whoops, little screw up there. And then, like I said, we're going to have to go in with the black one and put some of our details back. Whoops. Let's see if we can get it a little bit closer so you guys can see what I'm trying to do here. Oops. Don't need a stencil puller anymore. This is our black. Can use this line here to pull in some errant red if you have some that's giving you trouble. Okay, I'm going to keep the red in my hand so that we can add another web. Whoops. All right. Looks like the inside of his eyes is just white. All right. Some good red lines going there. Now the chest, the part of his chest with the spider on it. Oh, there we go. That is also red. Alright, coming along, you guys. I hope you can see what I'm doing here. See how we're just getting his chest, this chest piece, to have some red in it. Now, what else do we got? He has these shoulder things which would be covered. Let me see, back where we were. See if we can get a reference for the color of his coat. And decide if his coat is something that we want to do. Looks like it's a light blue. Okay. So it looks like the bottom of his sneakers are white, but the top of his sneakers are red. So there's a white stripe around the middle, and this is the Nike symbol. So we're gonna pull that up. As far as, does he have high tops on? I guess kind of. All right. Pretty much all the red I'm using here is just to try and then, go back and clean it up. I don't feel like this is looking bad. I'm having a pretty good time with it. I hope you guys are okay with me. Having a good time. He's got white around the side of his sneaker, but we're gonna just chase it with a little red here. All right. Okay, so then we know his other sneaker is also red. And now we have to make the decision. Do we draw the sneaker or not? I think we're stuck. Okay. And then coming out of the back, even though it's from our stencil, for some reason it didn't cut. So up here on his heel, we want to bring in our Nike swipe. Excuse me. Take a look at the top of that sneaker. All right. Got our swipe here. All right. Okay. So now he's got white, red sneakers, as we said. So we're gonna give him, right here. I think we need a little bit more of a dip. All right, so his sneakers over here, gonna be red. Let's see if we can fill a little bit of this bigger area real quick. Luckily, this red and the marker in my hand, the small one, are the same red. So we can do that and then work right on top of it with this one and have absolutely the same color. One of the only complaints I have about Unapasca, because I really love them, is that I wish they had more colors in the sizes I like working with. Like this guy right here is a great giant size and a short marker to make it easy to hold. But not having 30 colors like that is lame. I wish there was. Another thing I'm going to be able to do here is use the white paint marker. White will allow us to put back areas that we took too much away. Alright. Now there's a white stripe down the bottom of his sneaker. And in this case, he has red sneakers on. So now that I've got the general coloring done, I want to go in and fill in a little more. Oh man, this red marker seems to be fading on me. Actually, it seems to be plenty of paint in it. It's probably just the paper. You know, being plastic, sometimes it pushes the paint away. All right. Wake up. Right. So now, like I said, we go back in and tighten up some lines that, you know, we were just trying to generally fill initially. So now we want to fill them in a little more. All right. Just one sec, guys. Okay. Oh, tech. Oh. Not just tech. It's all kinds of things that make me crazy. Oh, thank you for dealing with me, guys. I really appreciate it. So here I'm just touching up some of these reds that I wish had gotten in a little bit tighter. Okay. All right, we got his red sneakers in there looking pretty good. All right, I'm gonna switch back over to our black here for a sec. A lot of times when working with a longer loop, it's a good idea to work backwards because you can see your hand. Just jump around and fill in a couple of these spots that feel like they were just a part of the stencil, right? Alright, we have to figure out what color we're going to make this guy's. His jacket, excuse me, you know, trying to think of best way to hold this together. right? Now over here in Spidey's face, there's a little touch-ups that we could probably do. So I'm going to get in here a little and try to put a little bit more square stuff in just to make his red stand out a little more. Okay. Okay. That's looking pretty good. Do feel like I need a little bit more red. Okay. Oh, shit. Apparently I picked up some red. Oh, that sucks. I wonder if it can be cleaned off. Oh, wow, look at that. What happens if we use a little water? Oh, wow, look at that. Oh, dude, gotta love that. Wow. Hey, don't put it back. Oh, that's cool. Able to fix that because that would have been real sucky. So there's one of the drawbacks of using the large marker, apparently. Oh, got it wet there. A little hard to draw on a wet surface. All right, getting there, you guys. Almost. I'll tell you, I'm going to have to break out the magnifying glass just to get some of these lines a little tighter. All right. I don't know why that's starting to look a little strange. Like it's not, working. Okay. guys. So we're just about out of time. So I wanted to tell you guys how much I appreciate working with you and how much fun that I've had today working on this Miles Morales stencil. I think that it looks really, really great. Here we are right there. Some of my junk back so you guys can see it. And that's what we did today. Like really cool, guys. You did a nice job, Worked out. So I'm going to continue working on Miles Morales here. And I will be back tomorrow on Facebook from noon to 2. If anybody is interested in coming by, please do. I think we'll be back to working on the Bulldog again. I'm not totally sure, but that's where I'm kind of leaning to. So again, thank you all for your time. And if anybody is, just catching the end of this video, it will be posted here on YouTube. It takes a little bit. It might take a day or so. But there's quite a few more down here below me. Or I think maybe it's over here. I don't know. Anyway, it's right next to me. Let's see if I can find out where it is. My computer display doesn't want to wake up. So I can't tell you where it is. But take a look at some of the other ones. Like this one will be on a little bit. You can fast forward and stuff. I know I'm tired of listening to myself, so you guys are probably tired too.